What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Seth Plays, and we are finally going to be doing that Q&A video that I talked about a couple weeks ago. So if you guys and gals don't already know, on my community tab on the YouTube channel, I ended up asking you guys, it says it's 1 week ago, it's a little over a week. I asked you guys and gals to just give me questions, ask me anything, whatever you want, right? And today I'm going to be doing my best to respond to most, if not all, of the comments that I can anyways. There are a couple of them that are going to be held in review, so we'll see if we have time for that, but we do already have 288 comments. Yikes. So if we end up getting a bunch of duplicate questions, obviously I'll just skip over those, but for the most part, I do want to have this as a more serious video where I'm trying to respond more honestly about certain things and not really worry about the length of the video, just because that's kind of the nature of the game. Because normally with the comments videos, I actually get a lot of comments from you guys that I actually will answer in those comments videos, and then afterwards in editing I think to myself, nah, this is getting too serious, it's getting too boring. For the sake of time, let's just cut this out and just try to have a concise, you know, funny video, or at least something that I think is moderately entertaining. But this Q&A video, this one's gonna be boring. So anyways, let's get right to it and let's check out what these comments are, because oh man, there is a lot of them. Why you no grow hair, which is right at the top, which I actually really like that, like the way that it's been asked. It's personal preference why I don't actually grow my hair out, or rather why I shave my head. I actually had really long, beautiful locks back in the day. I have naturally wavy hair, not curly, not straight. I'm right dab in the middle, and it kind of sucks because what it means is that often during the summer especially, when I grow my hair out, I get a mullet. It's not that my hair's like super duper long or anything, it just goes rah, and I have wings that I could fly with through time, but I don't want that ability anymore, so I get rid of it. No, in all seriousness, I would sweat like a freak during the summer, so I just got rid of it. I actually ended up shaving my hair and going completely bald when I ended up hitting 100k subs, which was a joke that I kind of teased over and over in a lot of my other videos and stuff like that, but finally I made the commitment at 100k subs, and honestly, you know, it took me a little while to get used to it, but I really enjoy it. How much legit money have you put towards Trove? So this is somebody asking, I guess, my loyalty points, which I think it's somewhere around like 8,000, which is not that bad when you consider that there's a lot of other people that have been playing the game for less than a year, less than 5 months, in fact, and they've put a lot more money than that towards the game. That said, my justification is that I play the game, you know, not only just because I'm really into it, but also as a career choice. So with it, not necessarily that was my choice. I mean, you guys and gals are the ones, wonderful people that ended up actually making it possible for me to do YouTube for a living. But my point being is that I don't bat an eyelash to spending money on Trove, whereas I still am very reluctant to spend money on other video games. And more so than that, that ended up happening at the beginning of 2017, because when Trove ended up launching on consoles, I actually was making enough money off of my YouTube channel, and more particularly my Trove videos, to actually have the equivalent of a full-time job here in Canada. Now, I'm not trying to talk about money or anything like that, because I know that it triggers some people, but more specifically, as it started to become more serious all at once, I started taking it more seriously to buy these things in Trove, so that not only I could stay at the end of the game to keep, you know, keep myself on edge, keep you guys informed about all of the end game content and stuff, but a lot of the packs and things like that I would buy just to end up previewing for you guys and gals as well. Now, the other thing too that you gotta consider is that before that point, my loyalty points towards Trove was a lot lower. Not only just because of the fact that I've been able to make a full-time living, but also because of the fact that Trove has become more and more pay to win with each major update that they've ever ended up putting into the game. And, you know, unfortunately, it seems like almost every major update for Trove costs like, I think it's like the first major update cost me like $300, and then when they ended up adding gem augmentation and the login tokens, I think that was like maybe $500 to $800 or something like that. And then the Geode update alone was like that was like another $800 or something, and it's just getting more and more expensive for less and less gain. So I think this point moving forward, I'm actually going to start spending a lot less money on Trove, just because I don't like the fact that they're just stealing money from me, you know, and it's just, it's not really, the ends don't justify the means, is what I'm trying to say. At least they didn't with the Geode update. If you could change only one thing about Trove, what would you change? Ooh, that's a tough one. Honestly, there's a lot of things that I would rather change about the game, but I guess I would say the combat or the building. I feel that the building that they have in the game is just so lackluster. Like, it's almost as bad, if not worse, than Minecraft. It's maybe a little bit better than vanilla Minecraft, but mods instantly take care of that, and Trove's building just kind of sucks. The fact that we actually have building, though, on a full-on MMO voxel game, like, there's nothing really done like Trove's done as far as gaming is concerned, which I think is really, really cool. There's a lot of Minecraft clones out there, but none of them that actually have like a cool action battle combat system and stuff like that. Like, I still really enjoy Trove for what it is, but I do think that the combat could be overhauled into being something that isn't you just running in, killing everything and moving on. Hopefully U10's gonna actually add some more complications to the gameplay so that we actually have something where we have to work towards it. But in general, I guess rather than seeing a specific feature changed with Trove, I would rather see the development of Trove changed, because the developers themselves, I've known for a very long time, you know, we're talking about trying worlds here so they can not take criticism to save their lives. But then on top of that, it's the fact that they don't have any foresight whatsoever. Foresight or foresight? Yeah, foresight, that's it. I'm mixing it up with Fortnite, for crying out loud. But it's like, I remember years ago when I was playing Trove with my brother, and we were talking about how, like, when dragons first got implemented into the game, they actually had a fledgling that turned to an adult, that turned to a bigger dragon, and the earlier dragons in the game, you know, the smaller ones that end up taking dragon souls, they kind of speak for themselves. Immediately when the first dragon got added to the game, I remember distinctly having a conversation with my brother talking about how stupid that was, and how that system that they ended up having for the dragons was not going to be something that would last for the conceivable future, because I don't know, that's just kind of how my brain likes to work, I guess. And, you know, same with Chaos Chest. That's something where it's like, it's just a landmine waiting to happen. They're just cluttering the servers with more and more things. Even with the Geode update, we had video effects blocks added to the game, which were awesome, but we saw, you know, immediately you start thinking that's just going to start draining frame rate, and their answer to it wasn't something sophisticated and cool. It was just, well, let's just make it so that the video effects blocks cost so much that people won't want to get them, and that'll keep the server lag down, you know? So I guess in total, you know, besides all of those things, you know, take your pick of what I think should actually change with Trove. I guess optimization and better servers would be the biggest thing, because I think that holds the game back for a lot of people. Bad optimization means that most people can't play the game. The game will never end up going to the Nintendo Switch, which I think is a perfect fit for Trove, actually. But then on, you know, because with the touchpad and stuff for inventory management, I think it'd be really cool. Play Trove on the go. But then on top of it, the lag is the biggest thing, because every single time that Trove has launched, they launched on Steam, they launched on the console versions, every single time that they end up launching, they have a huge explosion of players that unfortunately gets thrown under the bus in 2 seconds, because the servers can't keep up with it. And it's not that they update their servers and then eventually it irons out. It's that the servers are so laggy and so broken that so many people end up quitting until eventually the servers become at a stable rate where we've only got like maybe a handful of people actually playing the game. How did you find Trove? So that was completely random. I'd already done like a 50 episode Cube World series a long time ago. You guys can check it out if you want, honestly speaking. I don't even know how I was able to commentate for that long through those videos while literally there was nothing going on in that game. You would just, like, all I would do is just kind of walk around, you know, and talk about, I would talk about the game, and I would never talk about any other games. I would never talk about my personal life and stuff like I do now in my videos. It was just me staying in the game, staying in a little box and talking about the game itself. And I don't know how I ended up getting to 50 episodes, but anyways, coming off of that, I always thought that Cube World was a game that had a lot of potential, but unfortunately that crook ended up cashing in on all the money, and then he ended up abandoning the project. I don't care that he put some tweets out saying that he was working on the game. That, I think, is just for legal reasons, so that he can end up being sued for selling us an unfinished product. But anyways, you don't care about that. So I just randomly, no suggestion, no nothing, like I just went on Humble Bundle and Trove was there. And I didn't know that it was an online game or anything like that. I was actually buying my way into the closed beta. I didn't know that either, but I just saw this game and I thought, this looks like Cube World, but it looks like it's actually being developed by a full-time company that is actually going to end up finishing the project. And despite the fact that people were, you know, immediately, all the reviews that I saw online were talking about Trine Worlds this, Trine Worlds that, and I kind of knew them from some of their other games. But when I first started playing Trove, man, like, those are the good old days, when the game was simple, when the game just had a point, and that was all there was to it. It wasn't about making money for the company or anything like that. And unfortunately, you know, we've seen kind of over the years that the game has developed into whatever it is now, which I still love Trove, don't get me wrong, but the game was definitely a lot more exciting and kind of cool back in the day when it was just very simple. You know, there wasn't really that much in terms of the game itself, but you know, that's me looking at the past through, you know, rose-colored sunglasses, or however the saying goes, because I do feel that Trove has definitely gotten a lot better. And besides the fact that we give the devs a lot of slack on the game, I do still think that they've done a fantastic job with it. And I do, like, I am really, really happy with how Trove has developed. I just wish that they would move a little bit further away from the time-gated content and also stop doing the Trine Worlds thing that they've done with every single one of their video games, which means that they're not going to stop now, wherein they're designing the game specifically for pay-to-win, for the cash whales that are still playing their game, rather than actually trying to bring in new customers, which is something that Trine Worlds has done time and time again with every single one of their games. How did you meet your girlfriend? Tinder. I didn't know that it was actually as good a dating thing as it is, because in this day and age, like, going out and just randomly talking to people and trying to get dates and stuff, it's just, it doesn't work anymore, man. You know, it's way more convenient to be able to actually be on a platform where people are actually seeking a relationship. I didn't even think that we would end up getting into a relationship, honestly. Neither did she, but we just kind of ended up clicking and working things out. It's funny how, like, just going into relationships, how it's like, at first it's kind of like the social wall is in the way, and then eventually you get past that, and then you get to see, like, how weird the other person is. And I'm really happy with Mariko, you know, like, it's really, really cool that we're both so strange. You know, like, our sense of humor is very, very similar. She does a lot of really weird stuff that I think is absolutely adorable, that obviously is not on camera. It's for my personal life. Who is this Merc guy, and why do I subconsciously fear him? So is that, like, am I supposed to answer that question in serious terms? Because Merc actually is a random dude that showed up long before we had the Discord server. We actually used to use Razer comms, and everyone was always suggesting and telling us that we should swap over to a Discord server. But this was back in the day when Discord sucked. Like, Discord's gotten a lot better since it used to be, right? So anyways, in this Razer comms server, that's where a lot of the people that ended up starting out in that server and actually going the extra mile of joining that voice chat, a lot of them are actually the admins now that you see in the Discord server. These are trusted dudes that, you know, I've known for a very long time, and Merc was just one of those guys that ended up coming around. I think immediately a reason why we kind of relate so well and joke around so well is he's very, very close with his brother, and I was very close with my brother as well. And just in general, I've noticed that in my life, that I get along with people like that, like, almost immediately. Because if you're comfortable enough, and if you're, you know, that close with your brother, you end up bantering a lot and having jokes, and you pretty much a sibling relationship, or a healthy sibling relationship, or what I had, I guess I should say, is that, you know, I'm always just trying to make my brother laugh, and he's just trying to always make me laugh, which you can actually see in our earlier videos when we're playing multiplayer together. But the reason why you fear him, D, is, I don't know, probably because he's not a human being. He's actually a frog in real life. Why do you keep changing your hair? It's all wigs, man. Every single one of them. I'm trying to stay a little bit more focused now, though, and keep my attention on just having the white wig, because that's originally what I started with. Also because, you know, the reason why I started using the wigs in the first place, I'll summarize, unless somebody ends up asking the question more specifically, then I can get into it. But I just started using it in terms of becoming a mascot. It's kind of like, you know, you've got people that end up using weird boxes and masks and stuff to stand out from a crowd. I just ended up using the wigs because, in all honesty, I was getting sick and tired of dyeing my hair and having to straighten it all the time. And a wig just seemed like a logical answer where it's like, oh, I can just throw this on and then there you go. I'm a superhero, right? Not really. I'm just some guy that's playing games. But in either case, I've just got multiple wigs. I'm going to be trying to just use the white wig from now on just because it matches with my icon and everything like that. Maybe purple, but then I probably deal with issues with the green screen. Have you ever unboxed a Gans? Never mind. I think he's trying to say Gonda, right? Unless he's talking about something else. But no, I've never unboxed a Gonda, if that's what he means. What's the best way to farm flux in Trove for you? So speaking of me spending too much money on Trove, I don't farm for most anything anymore unless it's something that I have to farm for. Like when it's in new items and new resources and stuff like that, I'll farm for it. But if there's like a pay to win alternative, that's where, like I said earlier, I'll just end up buying it. So what I do for my farming now is just buying credit pouches. That's it. There are other means to actually get flux, and I do need to do an updated tutorial on flux farming, but I'm half waiting for when U10 comes out, you know, but at the same time, if I can end up getting a video out before then, well, there you go. Because the way that we end up earning flux is just constantly changing. That said, the reason why I kind of just go for the credit pouches now is just because it's a lot more cost effective for my time. Because I'm running a lot of different games on the channel now, and I love having that opportunity. And so I don't really have nearly as much time to grind the little things in Trove as I used to. But on top of that, I've gotten in the habit of hoarding everything that I can in Trove in the expectation that eventually it'll end up becoming an item that's either valuable or something that ends up being used in the game at some point. So Merck's got a question here. Since MapleStory 2 now has an official release date and is actually coming out, are you gonna start a consistent series on it like Trove? Yes, I've planned on doing that for a very long time. As of right now, I think that MapleStory's release date is perfect because during September, I'm gonna be very busy with Spider-Man. I've also started Fortnite, Warframe, you know, and I'm starting a World of Warcraft series. There's so many things that are going on the channel right now, and that's why I'll say, often you've probably seen in my videos where I say I'm super duper busy. It's because I'm piling on too many projects. I'm not burning myself out. It's just I've got some of these videos kind of stocked up and ready. Now, just to give a quick summary, with World of Warcraft, I'm going to get to level 20. I'm a free-to-play player, and unless you guys absolutely explode and yell at me that you want a series, I'm just going to get to level 20, and then that's it. I'm just going to stop the series so that we can just sail that boat down the stream, right? And then with it, I'll have a little bit more extra time. So with Spider-Man coming out, like, next week already, less than a week, man alive, I'm excited for that. That game's going to eat up a lot of my time, because I'm going to try and do like longer episodes and try to rush through the main story. And if you guys are still interested in seeing me actually do the open world stuff, then I could do that afterwards. My point is, though, we've got a month and then MapleStory is already going to be coming out. Thankfully, Trove ended up delaying U10 until the winter of this year because it means that I'll have the opportunity to actually start the MapleStory series. And I definitely want to have MapleStory be a main series on the channel right alongside Trove. Because I feel that in a lot of ways, you guys, like, there oddly isn't that much hype around MapleStory 2. I don't know why. We were just talking about this earlier. But the game itself works hand in hand with Trove. Like, it's perfect for my channel. It's a perfect fit for me as just the type of games that I like. And I can't wait. So anyways, his question goes on to say, when will you finally make that overall current review video of Trove? With all your recent videos being a bit on the overly critical and negative side, I think you should talk about what parts of this game you do like and why it has kept you playing for so long. So I talked about this with Merc, and I think that's why he's actually bringing this up, but I do want to do like a more current video of not only why I'm still playing Trove and why I still love the game, because of course, you know, it can end up being misconstrued because of the fact that I'm so overly critical and in a lot of ways I'm very, very negative towards this game that I've been playing for such a long time, you know, despite the fact that it's been nothing but good in my life, and the game itself is still surprisingly awesome, despite the fact that it's got its ups and downs and gets boring sometimes, honestly speaking. And then besides that, I want to have a video review of Trove where I'm going to be more open about the positives and the negatives of the game. But I do want to have a definitive video that's going to be talking about all the things that I think is positive about the game. And then last but not least, he's got a question, am I a meme? Which we've got an Oh Hi Merc shirt in the merch store. So you tell me. Can you show us a picture of you with your real hair? Well, this is my real hair right now, but otherwise, here's a video I've got, or a picture, I mean, that I've got of what I used to look like back when I ended up having my full, beautiful head of hair. That was pretty much me before I ended up cutting it all off for 100K subs. It was a little bit shorter and a little bit more managed than that, like less long, I mean, but yeah. Did you go to college? No. I am uneducated, stupid brain. No, I ended up actually getting homeschooled, and I never ended up going to college. Nope. It's kind of weird to think about it, because I ended up getting busy with games and stuff like that, but also my parents were kind of hippies, so they didn't really, my brother and I kind of were able to do whatever we wanted to do, and I don't know, college just never really ended up coming up. Unfortunately, it has been a bit of a limitation on my life in terms of certain job opportunities and stuff like that, but I'm doing YouTube now, so seriously, you guys, this is what I mean when I say thank you so much, because I haven't had to go out of the way to end up working towards all of these things, because I still aim for the stars, and I always have. And being able to just play video games for a living is the stars for me, because especially being able to be self-employed and work for myself, I guess I should say, because it means that I can have my own schedule. Have you seen the Revenant glitch in Trove where he can still fight after he's dead? Yes, that is because of the fact that he's got such insane amounts of life steal now. Often he'll actually end up stealing life as you die, and then your screen is black and white, and you're still fighting and still killing things. And then I forget if you can end up dying again, or if you don't do damage or something. I don't know, because I don't main the Revenant, but yes, I've seen it. What is the one thing that gets you annoyed in Trove? So this is a very good point towards me being so overly critical about the game. Honestly speaking, it's the decisions that the developers make, or the CEO makes, or whoever is making the dumb decisions over at Trine Worlds to constantly push out these updates that are mediocre at best. Don't get me wrong, I like the Geode update, but its execution was done very poorly, and this is kind of Trove in a nutshell for 2018. We even had the Vanguard class end up coming out, and it was absolutely just awesome class, one of the best in the game, one of the funnest in the game. But then on top of that, we haven't seen anything new for this new contender of the game. We've seen the Divinity costume, and when U10 comes out, we're probably gonna end up seeing like one more costume, unless they end up adding more for the Halloween event. Haven't seen any fist styles added to the game, and I understand the developers kind of have a process of actually doing this and adding these items to the game, but it's like they should be developing the game in the direction that we want, rather than the direction that they think we want. And I think, speaking of Trine Worlds not being able to take criticisms, I think that it's also it's also really hurt the company and hurt a lot of their games, because they don't listen to feedback, even if it's only slightly critical, And I'm not talking about criticizing the game as in being like mean or negative or anything like that. I'm talking about like actual, like this is something that people just don't like, but they keep on pushing it. Like, look at the Geode update. Nobody asked for that. Nobody wanted a whole area dedicated to mining or a new dumb planet. We all just wanted U10, and we just wanted some new gear and maybe even some new gems, But we're all overly critical for the simple fact that they just keep on seemingly ignoring all of our cries for what we actually want the game to be developed into, because we want the game to end up being better than it is. What type of dragon would you like to be added to Trove, and why? I don't know. Honestly, I really don't. I can tell you a mount that I would like to have would be kind of a raven that would have like maybe green glowing eyes and mist coming out of his eyes or something like that. Most of all, I want it because I want a mount that's actually like flapping its wings. Otherwise, I would say like maybe a Hydra mount or something, but we already have the two-headed dragon. Honestly, the dragons aren't really my favorite in Trove. I do still think that there's a lot of cool things that they could add, but dragons is not really something that's at the top of my list. Sorry. Scythe, since you're an idea man, thank you. I don't know if I am. If you could design and add a class to Trove, how would its abilities work, and also how would it look aesthetically? So if it was up to me, honestly, a long time ago, I would have thought that a samurai character that was using a two-handed sword, but that's just because I love samurais and just katanas and stuff like that. But I would love to see a big bruiser character that was using a two-handed sword. Personally, back in the day when I was first starting playing with Trove, I remember having dreams just because I was playing the game so much and I was so excited about the game, where I really wish that they would kind of get out of their habit of making all of the classes the exact same character, just with different abilities. Like, I think it would be really cool to have certain characters that would play completely different, like a Cubesley character that could fit in a one block space and would end up having building abilities that other characters wouldn't. Maybe even building abilities that you could use out in the battlefield, like maybe his number 1, so long as you had blocks in your inventory, that being his mana or his energy instead of actually using energy. And maybe you could place down like a blockade in front of you that would block enemies or protect you, or maybe a shield of blocks that would end up disappearing after a little while, or put down a turret, or put down trap blocks and stuff like that. Which, you know, again brings us back to the earlier point where the combat would need to be completely different. But then on top of it, I would love to have a character, maybe that would be a centaur, and, you know, the character would end up having mount running speed, and you actually wouldn't be able to use a mount as that character, and you would even have abilities where you would just be dashing, and maybe a passive ability where he would lower his spear and just cause damage while you're moving. Or maybe one of the abilities of him is the fact that you could keep your momentum up, or maybe it's like keep your momentum up while you're fighting and it wouldn't end up inhibiting your movement ability. Or maybe it's like you would end up getting a bonus damage while you were actually moving forward and attacking with a spear instead of using like a sword and shield or something like that. I also think that they desperately need a character that uses a simple sword and shield, where your right click would just end up being a block rather than the Revenant using it as a bash attack or something like that, you know? Then also another character that I thought of would be really cool is, think of like the Tomb Raider's ultimate ability, but as a class. And it would kind of be like this big ogre character. Your camera would have to be like up over his shoulders because of how big it actually was. And you would actually just be swinging trees around or something like that. And generally, like, I've always thought that these are ideas that I've just always wanted in games in general. But in Trove, especially because I'm so passionate about it, I really wish that they would end up doing that stuff instead of just making more, you know, human male characters that they just keep constantly throwing into the game, dude. Like, it's a little bit disappointing. But again, that's just what I would design in a game if I had a choice in general. And Trove is just kind of the outlet for that, just because of how cool that game is. If you ever started doing YouTube, what would be your job today? I think he means if I never started doing YouTube. I don't even know why I just skipped over never. I don't know, man. I'd probably be either in sales or maybe like a waiter or something like that. Like, I've always had kind of this really good connection with, like, what would it be? Customer service, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? Like, if I was waiting on tables and stuff like that, I just interact with people, probably would end up making some pretty good tips and stuff like that. And there's a lot of opportunity for that where I'm living right now. And I don't know, something like that, I think. My brother more recently ended up getting into realtor, like becoming a realtor. So, I mean, that's something where he's got an insane amount of dedication towards studying and working towards his specific goals, which I kind of have that, but I put most of that towards like just YouTube because it's something that I'm passionate about, like just gaming in general. But I've always had a dream on top of all this YouTube stuff. I hope that at one point in my life, I can end up making enough money off of YouTube that I could end up designing my own game by hiring like a team of people that are passionate about making games like I do. And again, I'm an idea man, so I don't actually know what it takes to end up designing a video game. And even in that regard, I probably wouldn't end up making a very good game, just because it would probably just be some type of Trove knockoff, right? What countries are on your bucket list to visit? So Japan, for sure. Definitely want to go there when I end up going there to meet Mariko's folks. That's going to be really cool as a nice excuse to just go to Japan, because I've always had a fascination with the country. Now, the weird thing is that I am not the type of person, like, I don't care about traveling. I know it's weird. I know that a lot of people love it. I don't really care. To me, it's just more scenery. And it's like, it's cool for a little bit to kind of go out of the house and actually explore these other areas and stuff like that. But it's just, I don't know. It's not really something that I've ever been into. To me, it's just a lot of money for the sake of seeing something that you could just see on pictures on the internet, you know? I know that it's very different when you end up getting there, but it's like, I don't know, dude. I've always kind of been an in-home type of person. First of all, love the hair colors, but do they symbolize any meaning to you, or do you think that would be pretty cool? Let's do it. You know, originally, again, it was just for the sake of standing out. You know, you see a lot of the top YouTubers dyeing their hair and stuff like that, and it's like, I've been doing that since I was like 15, dude. Like, I've always been dyeing my hair, you know, all the piercings, tattoos and stuff. I've always been a very alternative type of person. In my earlier videos, I used to just paint my nails, but I ended up getting criticized for that a lot in my videos, and more so moved away from that because now I actually have enough tattoos on my hands that I don't think that I need nail polish to end up drawing attention to it, or not so much drawing attention to it, but just kind of completing the look. Used to have a very, very edgy look back in the day, but it wasn't that I was trying to like get noticed. It was just something that I was really into. Like, I've always just really loved the alternative style of culture, like mixing punk rock and you know, emo style and goth and stuff like that. And it was always something that I was just really into. So anyways, with the wigs, it was just for the sake of it being convenient. The different colors was just because I wanted to have, I just thought of, oh, if I have a different color for a different game, it'll mean that people will actually know off of the thumbnail what game I'm playing, right? That's why I ended up getting the green one and the blue wig, specifically for the console versions of Trove. But now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going back to using the white wig. What is your favorite dragon in Trove? Again, I don't really care. Maybe I'm just taking for granted the fact that I've been playing the game for so long. But I guess I would say the Light Pegasus one, just because that dragon in itself really reminds me of Dinobot from Beast Wars, the TV show, which is something that I grew up with, and it's my favorite TV show ever, even right now. Otherwise, I guess if it counts as a dragon, the Mastery 600 Griffin, or Phoenix, I mean, does that count as a dragon? Because I love that thing. If you could add one item to Trove, what would that be? I would like to have, maybe this isn't what you're asking, Toxic Gamer, but I would like to have a system in game with which we could vote on custom player-made costumes and items and stuff like that to eventually end up getting enough votes that they would end up being accepted into the game. Because I don't think that they could ever for the life of them figure out or set the foundations up for something as beautiful as they have in MapleStory 2, where you can just make custom clothing with whatever you want, and then it's up to the players to end up actually reporting those people. You know, if anyone ends up making some stuff that's just completely out of line, right? But with Trove, I think that it's too long and too clunky a process for the developers themselves to hand pick items that end up getting added to the game. And that's where I've thought that that's one of the weakest points with the game, is if they would end up spending even a year to develop a way that we could end up getting items into the game ourselves, we would not only see a new slew of modders added to the game and people creating content, we would be able to see some really, really awesome stuff that people actually want in the game instead of stuff that the developers want in the game, because they've got very strange taste, honestly. But then on top of it, it means that they could stop focusing their attention on adding items to Luxian's inventory and the Chaos Chest, and they could focus on giving us some new content. What happened to the rest of the scythes? He's talking about with the comments video, because I would use the different wig colors to have different scythes that I would end up interacting with. Simply put, it was taking way too much effort out of me to end up editing those videos. Like the comments videos, I always just kind of get them uploaded whenever I get them uploaded. And when I was doing those intros, they were a lot of fun and the payoff was great. But the amount of stress that I had with having to record it, come up with it right off the top of my head, because I don't usually take a script or anything like that. I just think about it right then and there. And ultimately, it was too much work. Would you ever consider having children? Not for a while. How can I join your club in Trove? You're just gonna have to, well, your best bet is to join the Discord and ask one of the PC or console versions of Trove officers if you can get an invite. PS4 officers don't go in the Discord. That's your best bet, because then you can catch us even when we're not on the game. Otherwise, you just go into the game, yell in the Team Pixel world, or try to get a hold of somebody. It's not that difficult, but at the same time it is. What's your favorite thing about Trove? I would say that the combat is still pretty fun, despite the fact that I think it should be overhauled. I do really like the action of the game. Like, controlling your character is almost instantaneous, what direction you end up moving. And the game actually plays more like a first-person shooter, but it's third person. And I love games that are third person because you can actually see your character, and I think that's very important, especially in an online game. But I think what Trove does above any others is it's got like a lot of ease of use to be able to play with your friends, like being able to join your friends and stuff like that. And that's why I got very, very frustrated over the years how they've kind of dumbed that down and made it so that people can't spam join you and stuff like that, which was a problem, yes, but putting a broken timer on being able to invite people or join people was not necessarily an elegant solution. It was just a solution that they just threw some duct tape on, right? But I think that the community of Trove is the biggest reason why I'm still playing it, because we've got so many people that are playing it and so many people that are so supportive of the videos and stuff. And it's awesome, man. Like, I love Team Pixel. You guys and gals are my family. And then we got a lot of questions from this guy here, which are pretty cool. If you could add proper music in Trove, what would it be? Probably synthesized. I think that Trove could definitely stand to have a lot of the more upbeat music that they lie and use in a lot of their trailers. Like, if you check out any of the Trove trailers, it's like really intense and crazy, and then you get in the game and it's like darn, 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 darn. Seriously, Trove's music is like the worst that I've ever heard in my life. Personally, I am into like epic music like U2 and stuff like that. A more favorite song of mine that I've been listening to a lot lately is a song called Nuclear that was in Metal Gear Solid 5. I never played through the whole game, but check it out. And generally, I just think that Trove could have a lot more like neon, when you get in battle and stuff, and the music could be constantly going, and there should be like better music for each of the biomes that was a little bit more appropriate. That's not to say that there's certain songs in Trove that I don't like, but I just don't really like the sound design of the game. The music itself is kind of gross, and the sound effects are just awful. Would you rather see Geode gone, reworked, or left as it is? I mean, I don't think that it should be removed. I think that it is a good step in the right direction in terms of how mining and caving should be in Trove. I do really like the Geode area, but I do think that it needed to be reworked. I think that the developers, for the sake of acting like it was more than it was, drag out the content, because you're doing the main quest line to go through Geode, and you're working at it, eventually you get the jump boots, you get all of the items and stuff like that, and you're mining and you're hanging out and you're having a good time, and then eventually you realize that you gotta spend 10 hours for every bronze egg, waiting for a random chance for it to give you the items that you want, and then on top of it, it's like, oh, you're in tier 4, well, now you gotta upgrade everything so that you can even mine anything in tier 4, gather all the resources, rinse and repeat, tier 5, rinse and repeat, over and over again. And for what's the payoff? More mastery, and a different type of mastery too, not just normal Trove mastery, Geode mastery of all things. Like, it's ridiculous, man. I really think that it's just gross. Like, I don't know why they moved in this direction of having a weird gross planet instead of having it be like some really cool, like, why can't it be that the planet itself is like a giant tentacle monster that's trying to envelop the entire universe, and that's what U10 is, and it feels like the whole universe of Trove is being threatened, instead of a bunch of dumb little freaks that are like, go into the caves and get all the bronze eggs so you can get these disgusting aliens to help you dig. Wow, I can really feel the Geodians cry for help. What are the best Geode companion stats? Since you won't make Geode videos anymore, I'm not making Geode videos anymore, I'm just not doing any of the caving. It's long overdue that I've made a video talking about the best Geode companion, but otherwise it's the lizard. I don't know what it's called, Meepster or Meepy or something. It's the lizard one. The companion that ends up giving you more thrust on your jetpack, because that means that you can use your jetpack faster in the caves. That's the best one. Should there be a healer class in Trove? I don't think that the combat needs something like that, but I do think that Trove has desperately needed a proper support character. I think that all of the characters in the game should be overhauled to synergize with one another rather than them just overhauling all of them to solo everything. I think for, an example, the Knight. His ultimate ability now will put a shield on his teammates. But it's useless because it doesn't end up blocking enough damage. It doesn't really feel cool, and it doesn't really feel like it takes any skill. I do think that Trove could definitely stand to not only have a healer class, but yeah, just having a proper support class that would end up negating damage from enemies or maybe putting a debuff on them when all you can really do in Trove up to this point is just stun lock enemies. And that's pretty much it. Since knockback, it's just not a thing anymore. And it shouldn't be, because knockback is gross. What's the best way to grind adventurine/XP? I don't know if he means normal XP or like quest XP, or is he just talking about adventurine? He says, in my opinion, it's completing the 3 Geode quest daily. So if you want the best for adventurine, it takes a little while to stock up on it, but after you do enough rampage challenges, or even just go into the market and buy the salvage boxes or whatever it is that you get from the rampage bosses, you can go and get the quest line in the neon biome from the Luminopolis NPCs, and it'll be like, get plasmium, right? When you get that quest, you just open the salvage box, you'll get plasmium, you complete that quest. It's the fastest XP in the game because you can just keep repeating it until you end up reaching your daily limit of those quests, and it's insane. Otherwise, you can grind shadow towers if you have somebody carrying you through hard Weeping Prophet or higher. But Weeping Prophet generally I find is really, really good XP, especially if you have 3 arenas because they're the fastest rather than a shadow dungeon. But then also just farming U9 if you're on a character that can actually solo it. But again, if you're farming for adventurine, I would actually recommend the best quest if you have the quest NPCs in your clan or in your club world, is to just get the quest line that wants you to get the elemental gem boxes. Because then you just hop in the world, get a couple gem boxes, warp back to your club, get the quest again, and just repeat the process over and over. Should fishing in Trove be reworked? Yes, most definitely. Either they need to decrease the amount of numbers that is actually required for fishing, because the amount of hours that's actually just wasted sitting there doing something that you could be doing something better with your time. I think they could either rework it or just do what MapleStory does, where it just has auto fishing as an item that you can actually buy out of the store. I know that's a little bit pay to win, but stuff like that I think is okay in terms of pay to win, where you're paying for convenience rather than paying for, an edge on other people, which I guess still technically is an edge. But with MapleStory, they've actually got really good fishing where you've got a mini game, which is what Trove should have to make it fun and not boring over 50,000 hours. And then on top of it, you can end up, leveling your fishing so you can fish on certain maps. You can get better fishing rods, which give you access to other areas and stuff like that. Whereas with Trove, it's just as simple as crafting a couple different fishing rods so you can fish in plasma and lava and stuff. And that's all there really is to it, outside of the fact that you're going to end up going for certain fish, getting mastery and stuff like that. I think that aspect of the fishing is really, really cool, trying to get every type of fish. But I don't think that there should be any badges where you have to get 15,000 fish. Like, it's just disgusting, because if you're not specifically going for that badge, you're not going to fish that much. Why is Trove doo-doo lately? And I'm broke, I need flux. And then he's got a big comment about saying how he needs flux. But anyways, Trove is broken a lot lately because when the improvements update came out with Trove, it was absolutely broken. Unfortunately, the developers started focusing their attention on the flux duplication glitch, which ended up completely destroying the PC economy. It didn't affect the consoles, thank goodness. But unfortunately, the developers are now on vacation rather than working on the game a little bit more. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve a vacation or anything, but the fact that the game is crashing constantly should have actually been one of their top priorities before they ended up leaving. So we're probably not going to see a fix for a couple weeks. What is your favorite childhood TV show and why? Beast Wars. It's a show I grew up with. The graphics on it are okay nowadays, but most of all, I like the characters. I like the story. The episodes themselves, there wasn't really that much in terms of filler because the whole series was kind of filler, but essentially what the series was Transformers, but instead they would turn into creatures like animals and stuff like that. Like Optimus in the Beast Wars series was a gorilla, and the cool thing about it was that eventually down the line they ended up kind of evolving into mechanical beasts, and it was really, really cool, really well done, great voice acting and everything like that. Really liked the stories and the arcs and everything. Dinobot was my all-time favorite character, and when he came back as like the exosuit Dinobot, it was really cool. Unfortunately overshadowed by Cheetor, but you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. It's a great series. It really is. If you can get the DVD box set, which is like 20 bucks or something like that, it's a really good watch. I'm playing Gunslinger. My power rank is 1652, and my Gunslinger is level 18. Am I at where I should be, and how can I get better? In terms of your power rank, yeah, you don't really determine that until you end up getting to the higher levels, because of course you're going to end up having access to more gems. You're not really going to get to U9 unless you end up having, I think you can get away with not having 2 gems, like 2 of your lesser gems, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they changed it. I mean, generally it's going to be a lot easier to get power rank when the new gems get introduced to the game, so a lot of this is not really going to matter by then. But honestly speaking, you're just going to end up focusing on getting as much power rank as you can. You want to get to U8 so you can get those Radiant Gems. You're going to have to level them up, unfortunately. Up to that point, you don't really have to level up any gems at all. But when you get to the Radiant Gems, you're going to have to level them so that you get extra power rank. And ultimately, you want to get your Class Gem, because then that'll be an instant free Stellar Gem for you, whether you level it or not. And you need to get enough power rank so you can get to U9 so that you can end up getting to Stellar Gems. And then you can just start focusing on getting gems that actually have the stats you want and actually leveling them up, because from that point on, your power rank is just going to skyrocket. Quick question: is it possible to damage the Geode shield? Maybe to get through, and there will be a whole community event based on everyone needing to attack the shield. Nope, that is not the case. The Geode shield is essentially just a barrier keeping us out of the U10 biome, or I guess U8, the Geode biome, whatever you want to call it, right? You can actually, if you have enough jump all the way over the barrier, and then you can fly up in the top and actually look down and see the biome. But once you end up getting to a certain point, the game just instantly kills you. You can actually get out of the barrier with the ninja jump, if not the Fey Trickster's right click ability, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise you had to do it in a very weird way, but you can get out there and then you just die. Can you put daily upload? I do put daily videos up. Would you enjoy any other game more as a main game than Trove? You know, like the main game you make the most money out of. Well, that's entirely up to you guys watching, and I honestly am not really... Like, the reason why I don't like talking about the money when in terms of YouTube is because then people end up getting the wrong idea and thinking that I'm doing it for the money, which I've been doing YouTube since like 2011 or something ridiculous. I wasn't making money off of the videos at all. And then eventually I was just making a little bit, definitely not a full-time living from it. But thankfully I had a family that was very supportive of me, you know, and so I kept doing all my YouTube stuff, and eventually it just ended up happening to be that Trove was the game that ended up taking off. But despite the fact that lots of people like to criticize and say he's only playing Trove for the money, I've had a lot of games that I've played on the channel that do well, but I just cut it from the channel because I'm not interested in it. I used to, back in the day, force myself to play these random games that I didn't actually have any interest in for the sake of the views and stuff like that. But more recently, over the years, I realized that I just can't do that. I gotta be more honest with myself, and that's exactly what I've been doing with the videos from now on, where I'm playing Trove not because I'm making a living. I'm playing Trove because I still enjoy it, and I owe it to the community that we've got, and it's still a game that I'm really into. That said, I do think that MapleStory 2 has a lot more potential over Trove, but we'll see what happens. When I say more potential, I mean that I could see MapleStory 2 becoming the main game on the channel, even over Trove, so long as the popularity continues. Most of all, Not even because I think that MapleStory is a better game. I think that it's a very different game that delivers what Trove doesn't have, while Trove simultaneously delivers what MapleStory doesn't have. I'm going to enjoy both games regardless, but I think that Nexon is a much better company than Tryon Worlds, who actually listens to their community, and even when they do pay to win, it's not nearly as bad as Tryon Worlds. That said, the developers of the MapleStory Global version, which is the version that we're getting in October, have made huge steps to remove the pay-to-win aspects of the game and are continuing to develop more in the direction of cosmetic items only and, you know, maybe convenience items only, rather than what the Korean MapleStory still is, which is very pay-to-win because when you get to the end of the game, they essentially have the same gem system as Trove. Can I buy the green hair? Yes, you can buy a green wig online. I'm not going to sell mine because that's weird. Have you ever thought of buying more wigs for any purpose? I already kind of answered this question earlier where I bought the other wigs just for different games and stuff. I still think going into the future, if there's a certain game that needs a certain mascot, like when I had my Breath of the Wild series, for example, I ended up buying a Link costume that I eventually used in the series, just because I thought that would always be something really cool and kind of a gimmick that I could be using, especially because I'm a family-friendly content creator. This was long before all of the Trove stuff ended up catching on, but I always thought it was really cool to kind of dress up as the character that I was portraying in the game. And you see that with a lot of the earlier videos that I ended up doing with my brother whenever we did the Lego games or like the Mario games and stuff. And we would always kind of try to have these outfits that were reflective of the characters while not necessarily having very good cosplay. What's your favorite Titan boss? I guess I would say Daughter of the Moon, maybe? Or actually, no, it would be Weeping Baby, as I call him, or just the Weeping Prophet. I think he's really cool because I always love the Cthulhu stuff, and he's just like such an idiot where he just, you know, like he's kind of a clown. I really enjoy him. Dreadnought was so cool when it first got, you know, came out into the game, and now it's just kind of more of an annoyance just because of the fact that he just auto locks onto you because the range in the range attacks in Trove from enemies is just so stupid and broken. But then on top of it, his physical damage and his magic damage shield is just disgusting. Why Merc isn't a tortoise? Because I cast a curse on him. Will you ever do fan mail? Yes, eventually. I don't have a PO box right now, but most of all, that's because I don't really think there'd be enough of you guys that I should even get a PO box, but eventually, yes. If you could only be one class in Trove and everything reset, what would it be from the beginning? I guess Vanguard, just because he's the strongest, or at least one of the strongest and best in terms of U9 farming. Neon Ninja is still faster, but I just prefer the Vanguard in general. Otherwise, when the Shadowhunter gets its rework, possibly it could be my main again. If you could bring back one thing permanently to Trove, what would it be and why? Bring back or get rid of? Because I would get rid of the time-gated stuff, and I would move away from all of the pay-to-win cash shop stuff. They've got too many things that's already cash shop. I'm fine with Trove being pay-to-win with the gems and everything like that, but they just keep on adding more and more things that end up giving us mastery, acting like it's something of value, and forcing us to actually pay for it in order to end up actually progressing. The Geode update is a prime example, because if you're not spending money, it takes a long time to get through. Is there any way for me to get the Mastery 700 Dragon without going in the codes? Mastery 700 is impossible for Trove right now. Often they'll end up putting the new tier of mastery items into the game's code, with that mastery level not being attainable in the least. How many years ago did you start gaming, and do you have any other channels before this one? No, this is my one and only YouTube channel. I've never been the type. Lots of people have told me to reboot the channel and just dedicate the channel entirely to Trove and stuff like that. And while I'm sure that would actually be a lot more successful, I've never understood or been an advocator for the idea of splitting content, essentially splitting views and splitting the fan base. I want to have everything all in one area for you guys rather than making a vlog channel separate from everything. I'll just post vlogs on this channel, you know, like this is my life. This is all it is for me, right? That said, how many years ago did I start gaming? I've been gaming since I was a little kid, man. I played the NES. You know what that is? You know that old garbage Mario game? You know, the really old one that you can get on the Nintendo Virtual Console? Yeah. I grew up with that game, man. That, Contra, so many things. Super Mario World. I'm an old school gamer. I've been gaming all my life. I'll keep gaming. What is your full Trove inventory, character, and chest? I'll do that in a video if I remember. Have you ever written a song? Yes, several. I used to be in a band with my brother called Hear the World. That was years ago. Eventually, we just decided that that was not something that we were going to, go for in a career. But I was always playing the keyboard, and I sing, and I wrote a couple songs. Overdrive was one of the most recent song I wrote, which was already a long time ago now. But all the songs that I used to use in my outros were songs that I ended up making. And in fact, referencing back to the Cube World series, Cube World didn't actually have any music. It made me very frustrated. And I actually ended up making all of the songs that I ended up using in the Let's Play series, which some of them you can see were kind of lazy. It was more about having it as a methodical, or not methodical, just as a repeating song, like a loop that I could just use for as long as I needed to while I was in every specific biome. And some of them ended up turning out pretty okay, but some of them are pretty bad. Who do you live with? That's a pretty strange question, Spocky the Frog. So I don't really talk about it much just because I don't really get into that as far as my personal life, but I live with, there's my mom and pop, and then there's my girlfriend. We've kind of got a separate unit that's is kind of like a house that has like a completely separate room that's separate from the entire house, and that's my bedroom with Mariko. And then otherwise, where I'm working right now with all of this stuff, I pretty much ended up claiming the living room. What's your favorite costume? This one right here. I think he's talking about Trove, which as of right now is the Phoenix Guardian costume that I use on the Vanguard. Why do you have piercings? Unfortunately, if you're even asking this, it means that you'll never understand. Why I have piercings? Why don't you have piercings? It's the exact same thing. I used to have more piercings. I had a nose ring and I had an eyebrow one. The only reason I got rid of them was the eyebrow one was pierced incorrectly, and so the wound never fully ended up healing, so I got rid of it. And the nose one was just annoying, so I got rid of that one too. But I still like the lip one. I still like my ears. I might get one more ear piercing right here on my left ear, but I don't know. I'm pretty okay in terms of the piercings that I got now. Why don't you make a Trove meme video? Because there's nothing in Trove that's a meme. There actually used to be a lot of memes back when the game came out on Steam originally, because every time the servers would go down, the forums would just be completely spammed with people posting pictures of hamsters on wheels, because, hamster servers, right? And there was a lot of really, really funny stuff back in the day with the PC community and the forums, which now it's most of all just the tryhards on the forums pushing everybody out, or the devs pushing everyone out saying, you're overly critical, and it's just, I don't know. I don't really frequent the forums anymore. How did you start your YouTube career, and how old are you? I started my YouTube career just, I just was sitting there one day playing a video game, and I thought, why aren't I at least recording this and sharing this with people? Because often I would just be sitting there playing games, either talking to myself or just talking in my head, making all the jokes and stuff that I do in the videos. In fact, quick tip for any of you guys or gals that are trying to get into the whole YouTube thing or just commentary in general. You want to know what I did when I first started commentating? I just started saying everything that was in my head to fill the silence, and that's it. And even now, I've been doing YouTube for such a long time, and yes, I am professional, I can say that. There are still certain words that I'll end up repeating, certain phrases that I end up relying on, and you kind of develop this stuff as you end up commentating over the years, and it just kind of sticks. As for how old I am, I'm honestly thinking, because I don't really keep track of it, I'm 30. You guys didn't think that I was that old, did you? Haha. So either to some of you guys, I look really, really young or really, really old. But I know that a lot of you are going to end up questioning every one of my motives now that you know I'm much older than you thought I was. Because everybody I ask always thinks I'm either like 20 or 25 or something. I don't know. Everyone's saying where he buys his wigs. He doesn't. He makes them. No, I buy them and then I cut them. Why is Mark better than you? Would you ever start community streams where we as a community can play with you, and it would just be awesome? I do that in every stream, technically. When I'm playing Trove, you guys can join me at any time. And when I'm playing random side games, I often invite you. But Trove is a little bit of another story just because the way that the game works, often people will spam invite me or stuff like that, and usually I have to kind of go to do not disturb. But I do like you guys being able to join me and being able to play with me. Yes, that's one of the reasons why I think an online game it has done so well for me on the channel, because we actually get to hang out together. Now, off camera, I still play these games with you guys, and more importantly, play it with a lot of people in the Discord server. What would you like Tryon Worlds to introduce next? Trove 2. I'm dead serious. I think that they should just start working on Trove 2. Either we carry all of our accounts over, or they just make it and just say screw it. Give us a couple benefits just for supporting the first game for such a long time. I think they should make Trove 2 with a dynamic lighting engine, make it maybe even on the Unreal Engine, or something that's a lot more stable. It can still be a voxel game, still can be very bright and cheerful. One of the big things that I love about Trove is the fact that even during the night, it's not pitch black like so many other games. Even Minecraft is guilty of this. I hate that in games. Like, seriously, just make it bright. But I think that Trove 2 could be the saving grace of the company and the game, where they could actually go into it knowing what they're doing instead of being completely confused about what they're doing. Or at least that's what it feels like. Are you subscribed to Mork Plays? Yes, I am subscribed to Mork. What other passions or hobbies do you have or wish to pursue other than gaming? Hashtag too deep for me. Gaming is my passion, man. Like, I love it. The only other thing that I do outside of gaming, and I'm not even joking, is the gym. I love working out. I think that if I didn't end up becoming a gaming channel, I would have either become a vlog channel or one of those people that just does like workout videos and stuff like that, because it's kind of the only other thing that I'm really passionate about. Otherwise, I just love life in general, man. And video games have always just kind of been there for me. It's just like, I just love video games. What can I say? I want to get into it as a career, you know, in any way, shape, or form. And thankfully, I've been able to do so with YouTube, had such amazing opportunities. The next step for the channel, if I can make enough money off of it, except Canada money sucks, is I would like to be able to actually travel to the US to some gaming conventions and possibly end up even meeting some fans in the future. When will the Boomeranger get a buff? Despite the fact that I talk so much about Trove, I have no idea what the inside story is with the game. Meaning, I don't have a personal connection with the devs. They don't tell me these things, so I have no idea. Hair reveal at 200K? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Will you ever love the Tomb Raider? Tomb Raider's okay. I do think that the class needs, needs a rework. I just don't think that it should be next in line for the throne of a rework. I think that the Tomb Raider should be way down on the list. Are you thinking of playing Black Ops 4? No. I don't care about the Call of Duty games. I really don't. I liked the old school ones. But I moved into the Battlefield games over Call of Duty. I love the Battlefield games, man. But even then, that's not really something that works with the channel. So, and on top of that, it's just, I don't really care. How do you not give up from the hard work in Trove? I've played games all my life, man. It's not that hard. Like, I know that I've gone pay to win with the game for sure, but that doesn't mean that I didn't grind everything legit back in the day, despite the fact that everyone likes to think that I'm 100% pay to win. I just love the game, man. Like, what can I say? So it's not really that much of a problem for me. Where do you picture yourself and your channel in 5 years from now? Probably at 200K subs, if another game on the channel doesn't end up picking up, because I don't think that Trove is really going to go anywhere. And unfortunately, that is, Trove's popularity single-handedly determines my channel's popularity as of right now, because it's the only real successful game on the channel. I would actually really enjoy it if I could not only continue the Trove videos, but if other games that I would play would end up having the same amount of popularity. I think that would be really, really cool. But it's just, most people come to all the Trove stuff because of all the tutorials and because of how I understand so much about the game, as opposed to a random game. I'll just pick it up and play it for a little bit, beat it, and then that's it. But I still really, really admire the fact that some of the bigger time channels can end up picking up whatever game they fancy and playing through it, and having their fans be so receptive to actually just watching them playing this random game and being a fan of the person rather than being a fan of the person playing a specific game. Are you eventually thinking about going to a convention to meet all of us? If yes, how and when? Your Canadian YouTube fam. So again, I'm making enough money to have a full-time living off of YouTube. I am not making enough money to be able to afford going to conventions, let alone ones that are in the US, because that's pretty much every gaming convention. So yeah, I can't really make any promises on it. I thought that I might be making enough money in 2018 that I could go to some of the events like PAX or Gamescom or even E3 and stuff, just because I've never gone to those in the first place, and I think it'd be really cool. But yes, I would hope to do fan meetups, maybe somewhere a little more localized, maybe somewhere in Canada. You know, a couple months back, I ended up going to Vancouver and having a very brief, like, hey, we should meet up. And some people were saying that they would have meeted up, except I ended up mentioning it last minute. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try and set up some meetups where I live. We'll see. Scythe, if you have spare time or want to make a reaction video, I made a pretty hard try not to cringe challenge. That actually... That's probably the future of the channel, honestly. I do love the idea of the whole like reacting to things. I think that is unfortunate or unfortunate, the future of all the YouTube stuff, and I think that it would be really, really fun to do that stuff. But I don't really have like a full-time editor or anything like that, so a lot of my time is still spent editing my videos myself. And with gaming and stuff, I can just slap the video together in 2 seconds, pump it out, and then, you know, make a couple cuts in the loading screens or silent parts, and then we just move on and upload the video. Whereas, again, referring to the comments video or a video like this, it takes me a long time to edit these because of the amount of time that I have to put into them. More importantly with this video, because it's so long. It's not a question, but today I lost 2 best friends of almost 10 years. That sucks. That happens sometimes. Then I didn't like playing Trove or Rainbow Six, and when we played, they were the only games I wanted to play. They'd get mad at me for not playing other games with them. I broke down in tears when I saw your Empowered Gem unboxing video, and it brightened up my day. You just gotta move on, and that's one of the big reasons why I'm doing these videos too, is so that I can hopefully end up brightening up your day, because I know that the world is a very serious place, and it's not all happiness and sunshine. And that's where I'm very, very happy that my videos can affect your lives in a very positive way. So thanks for that one, dude. What's your PC build and how much did it cost? I'll tell you how much it cost. At least a couple years ago, my computer was like $5,000 or something like that, but it was an investment that I ended up making slowly over time. Yes, I ended up buying myself a monster computer, and I do actually have videos that have talked about the specs and what I ended up doing for my PC in the past, for sure. I'll try to remember it to the best of my ability to end up posting my specs in the description. But otherwise, right now I'm rocking like a 1080 Ti, just to give you a perspective. And when I ever end up needing to have a more powerful computer, I'll probably just get another one. But up to this point, my computer is pretty much the strongest that I could possibly make it, at least for the games that I'm playing. Do you know to weigh? Yes, I do. I'm just not telling anybody. What color do you think that Astral gear will be in Trove? And I almost forgot Oh Hi Merc. Did you buy the Oh Hi Merc t-shirt yet? I just had a mini heart attack. I think that Astral gear would make sense to be kind of a ruby reddish color or blue. I don't know what they're gonna do with it though. It would just kind of make sense for it to kind of be more red themed or something, or maybe green. But more so like what Stellar has as far as its background color, rather than just being some of the starting gear. So this guy's got a few questions. To summarize, he's talking about how in one of my earlier tutorial videos I talk about 3 free classes. He's saying he got 1 and 1 free class coin. I think you get the Era class coin eventually from Mastery, but honestly I'm not sure whether they removed the second one. So it's very tough to tell unless you're talking about the one that you end up getting from just the shop for absolutely free. I'm not exactly sure about that one, dude, so I'm sorry about that. He also says that he's low rank and wants to know about Chaos Core grinding, which is just from Chaos Chest 100%. You just gotta randomly get the items out of it and then end up loot collecting them. Or you could buy the Chaos Chest, which nobody recommends. And you can't quite solo the easiest Shadow Tower, so then you just gotta get people to carry you, man. Simple as that. Did you ever make sport or something? I think he's asking if I've ever played sports, which Yes, I have played sports, not really competitively or anything. Gaming I did competitively back in the day, but I'm a very physical person, so I was always into lots of different things. I've tried my hand at baseball, soccer. I actually really liked tennis. That was really fun for me. I also used to use a scooter, skateboard, and all that stuff, and yeah, fairly generic active life. When do you think you're gonna stop using your YouTube channel? Most likely when I'm like 60 or 80 or something. I don't know. And who's your favorite YouTuber? Oh, hi YouTube. My favorite YouTuber, that's a tough one. I guess I would say Ethos Lab. I've been watching him for years, dude. I used to actually watch B00-100, but unfortunately, due to issues with his, not issues, but just issues that he had with YouTube and not making enough money off of it, he's since moved to Twitch and just doing live streaming exclusively. I don't really watch his live streams. I can't really catch anybody on live streams. It's just too inconvenient for me. So pretty much just Etho. I've got lots of other YouTube channels that I do end up watching very regularly, but Etho is one of the biggest ones where I've just been watching him for such a long time, since he was doing the Minecraft series way back in the day. I actually randomly came across his channel. The first video I ever watched of Etho was his perspective in the, what was it? It was when he was playing with B00 and Geode Boulder Fist on one of those crazy monument wool Minecraft adventure maps or challenge maps or whatever it was. I completely forget which one it was, but it was one of the early ones. How do you keep playing the same repetitive game for so many years? Because I love the core mechanics. I'm not picky when it comes to video games. It's just I have very specific tastes, and Trove just so happens to be one of those games where I'm just really, really into it. It's the feel of it, man. The way that the characters control and everything. When it's actually working, Trove is one of the funnest action games that I've ever played. I love it, and I wish that they would develop more content towards that action aspect of the game. That's why our fingers are all crossed for what U10 is going to be like. What inspired you to do kid-friendly videos? Honestly, there was too much swearing online at the time that I was doing all the YouTube stuff. When I was first getting into it, this was back in the day, not when YouTube was, cracking down on all of the non-family friendly channels and putting a PG warning for everybody and taking away people's money, right? I don't agree with how YouTube has treated channels that do continue to swear, but it's something that I just never really found attractive. Whenever I would be watching somebody doing a Let's Play or something, I found myself more and more moving away from channels that would swear, even to the point where there would be a channel where maybe I'm watching a video and 5 minutes in, they just drop the F-bomb for no reason. And I would just be like, okay, and I just click off of the video and move on. Because it just felt like, why did you have to go there? Why did you have to just drop down that one swear when the entire rest of the video, they don't swear at all, And I just decided for myself that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be swearing in my videos. I wanted to go the extra mile of actually having, content that was not only family friendly, that kids could end up watching, but also that adults could end up watching with all of my weird jokes. I don't know if there's many adults watching my videos. I know that a lot of you guys are just kids watching it with your parents, but either way, I think a big inspiration for that was Etho and B00-100 being the reasons I got into YouTube in the first place. What made you become streamer Scythe? You mean just live streaming? I just like live streaming because I like interacting with you guys right then and there. That said, I know more recently I've been talking about how I was going to be doing live streams on YouTube. I think I'm actually going to be swapping and doing my live streams exclusively on Twitch, but I'll have another video that's going to talk about that, or maybe I won't, because honestly speaking, I don't like the fact that I keep on going back on things that I've just explained 2 seconds ago, but I don't know, we'll see. Why are the developers of Trove not making it on a newer game engine? The old engine is the issue. What is your opinion on this topic? You can't just make a game, completely take a game's code and develop it on a new game engine. Maybe you can when it's on a game engine that is something that can work with that, but Trove's game engine is so old, it's just never going to happen. Thus why I said Trove 2. What advice do you have for someone who used to play Trove on Xbox, hasn't played for ages, and is now starting to play again on PC? Take it at your own pace and play the class that you enjoy. That's pretty much the best advice that I can give towards anybody that's playing Trove, and is why I'm still playing it to this day. Because even like, you know, right now, for example, I'm at that point where I'm barely playing Trove in my off time. I was playing it for weeks, months, non-stop grinding off camera just because I enjoyed it. But now it's at the point where I'm taking my break and I'm still keeping the videos regular as possible for you guys, but I'm not really playing it that much off camera. And you gotta pace yourself so that you can keep the game interesting, because if you just keep on playing and keep on playing, you can't burn yourself out. Do you think the Lunar Lancer should be the next class to get a rework in the update? That would be a good choice, I think. Lunar Lancer definitely needs a rework. I mean, Lunar Lancer, to be fair, you can still use in U9, but you can't use in Shadow Towers at all. I think that they need to not only up the damage of the class, but they need to completely overhaul the class gem, because it's trash. Why will you not buy Gonda? Also, Team Pixel's Discord server is awesome. Thank you for that one, my dude. Really appreciate it and glad you're enjoying it. Why I won't buy Gonda? I don't have the flux for it, man. On PC, Gonda was, I'd have to double check, but Gonda was going for like 25 mil since the flux explosion, the duping bug. And what can I say? It's just not something that I want to buy. I wanted to unbox it myself, but after spending 30 mil and being able to possibly buy 3 Gondas, I just thought, no, I'm not gonna do it anymore. If they rework the Shadow Hunter, what would you want his abilities to be, or how do you want the current ones changed, assuming they fixed projectiles in the game? If they fixed projectiles, a lot of it would already be resolved. I do think that bows in general, like this is for the Boomeranger and for the Shadow Hunter, I think they should have piercing damage where they would end up phasing through enemies, and it would end up making the character a lot more useful. I think that the ult, if it actually worked, would already be fine. But I do think that they could rework the ult as well to being kind of an arrow barrage on a specific area that you select as well. I think that could be really cool. Your right click becomes all but useless as soon as you get your class gem ability. So I think that that's something that should get reworked. And your number one, where you throw down the trap projectile, honestly, it just doesn't really feel fancy enough for me. You know, it already works fine, but I do still think that it could end up being cooler. What town or just region, if you're uncomfortable, do you live in Canada? And yes, I just came from the live stream. I knew that freak was going to be here, so I thought, you know, I could have easily avoided this question just because I think Canadians generally like our privacy, just because there's not nearly as many people here as there is in like even one city in America, and I think because of it, like I see it very often with American YouTubers, they just blatantly tell people where they're at or the region that they're at and stuff like that. I've always kind of avoided it, just, I don't know, just because of, I guess, a certain sense of professionalism, where it's like, what do you care? What do you guys need to know about this? Like, it's my personal life. It's not like I go out much or anything like that. It's not that I was necessarily trying to hide it, because it's just going to happen eventually, and that's why I figured I may as well just bury it somewhere in this video of all things, but I'm not going to go around advertising it. Again, I'm not trying to hide it. I actually live in Victoria, BC, Canada. Come at me. Hey Seth, will you play Super Smash Bros. When it comes out in December? I might play it. I don't really have it pre-ordered or care about actually buying it like right away. I could possibly end up doing it on the channel, but we're talking about Nintendo, and honestly, I want to avoid Nintendo as much as I can. Just to put it into perspective, my Zelda Breath of the Wild series, Nintendo has claimed all the rights off of my videos, and normally they're supposed to actually give you 40% of what they end up making off those videos, and I'm not saying I made very good views off of my Breath of the Wild series, but when Nintendo ends up sending me a monthly check of 4 cents, you know that something's wrong. Why do you say end up so often? Again, this is to what I said earlier, where in all honesty, there's just certain phrases and words that you kind of become dependent on when you're commentating. You don't even notice it. It's just there. You know, like everyone's always got like that sort of tell, and can very rarely end up having a full organic conversation with themselves, essentially, through commentary, through an entire video, let alone through years of making videos, without having certain phrases that they end up relying upon, when honestly your conversation and what you're talking about ends up going faster than your brain can process. and because of it, your brain just throws in certain words to kind of keep that keep the momentum going of the conversation, so that you hopefully will end up coming up with new things to talk about by the time you end up finishing that sentence. If you had $1 million, what would you do with it? I would put it in the bank. What does QnA stand for? And now that I've failed to gain your attention, what's your favorite meal? That depends on how I'm feeling. I like pizza. Honestly, I don't really like it as often as I used to. I guess my favorite meal, I've done it in the vlog videos, but Mariko and I, when we end up making, it's like onions cooked up with some more veggies and asparagus, and then just a big old steak that we end up buying from the store. That's probably my all-time favorite meal, dipping the steak in sesame sauce and then wrapping that steak with spicy spinach. I think this might be our last question here, guys and gals, because this video is already getting super duper long, way longer than I thought it would. Honestly, I don't even know what it's going to be like when I'm actually like editing this. It's gonna be a real mess. So okay, now that I've been watching you for years as my Trove guide as my guide for Trove, and I always thought something was off about your hair, I just couldn't put my finger on it, but you look a lot better without hair. Just saying thank you. I think I do too. Real question: how do you resist the urge to not open your boxes that you save up in Trove? I don't really have an urge. Like, it's very different when you become a content creator, I think, and more so when you've been playing games in terms of recording them. You know, it's like if you've been playing and doing YouTube long enough, I think that it just inherently becomes like that, where it's like, unless you can make a video out of it, it doesn't really have the same appeal. Like, it's like, I really don't have any, like, I don't care about opening any of the boxes that I have in Trove. Certain games, of course, I'll end up opening loot crates and stuff like that I don't bother actually doing in videos. Warframe is a prime example where I, you know, get certain things off camera and I don't really bother actually having it on camera. But with Trove, maybe it's not even to do with YouTube. Maybe it's just the fact that I've been playing the game for such a long time that it just doesn't really bother me anymore. It's like, I don't really have that, oh no, I gotta do this thing. So anyways, ladies and gents, I gotta get a lot of other videos edited right now, not even this Q&A video. I thought I could get this video out to you guys as quick as possible, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. So there's a couple things that I do want to mention right now at the end of the video that I'm going to see what I can do about it. For this video, I might just read the questions and then just leave it at that. What I originally had planned to do was I was going to end up taking each of your individual comments and putting them in the video while I'm actually reading the comment, kind of as a way of shouting out the person that ended up asking the question. But honestly speaking, the fact that this video is going to be as long as it is means that would mean that this video in itself would end up taking that much longer to fully complete and edit. So I think that I'm just going to focus on how we have it right now, where I'm just going to read the question and respond to the question. And if you ever want to know who ended up actually asking the question and stuff like that, you can just end up reading it in the community tab on the YouTube channel, right? So hopefully you guys are okay with that. I just wanted to mention that because originally my plan was to kind of give a mini shout out to each and every one of you by actually having your comment in the video. That's why I didn't end up reading names, but that's just not going to happen. So anyways, thank you. Seriously, if you got all the way through this video, then it shows that you are a true fan. Like, seriously, because this video is way too long. Like, man alive, I wish I could have cut down on time with it, but I wanted to have that definitive Q&A video that I've been you know, teasing with you guys for such a long time and mentioning that I wanted to do for such a long time. So I'm really glad that we were able to actually have this, and I do think that another Q&A will end up coming about sometime in the future. But as of right now, most of the questions were just related to Trove, as you could obviously see, and I don't know, it was still pretty cool, but I was kind of expecting it would have gone in a little bit of a different direction. At the same time, I knew it was going to be a lot of Trove related stuff, but in either case, thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. If you would please like, share, sub and hit that notification bell so that you get notified when we got new videos. Also, if you want to support me, you can always click that join button down below. That's going to give you a monthly membership to the channel. That's also going to give you a couple perks and stuff like that, which I have another video that talks about that. But if you don't have any money, you can always check links down below for Gawkbox, which is, it doesn't really work for everyone in Europe, but it's a way that you can end up actually earning money for free that you can donate to me. And then there's also links down below to the merch, which we do have the Oh Hi Merc shirt in the merch store as well. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I'm so tongue-tied. My throat is really dry because I've been doing this for like well over an hour. It's probably at like 2 hours now, isn't it? Like Jiminy Crockett. This is insane. Thank you. Really, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your positivity and support. I love doing what I'm doing. Absolutely love it. This is the best career choice that I could ever possibly have. And I'm so very fortunate and very happy and blessed and respectful, and love every single one of you for actually making this happen and making this possible. Those of you that actually watch my videos, you know, and watch the advertisements, watch through the ads, even if you skip the 5-second mark on the ad, you know, all of you that make it possible that I make enough revenue that I can do this full-time for a living, thank you. Like, very much. And those of you that just watch the videos in general, thank you very much, because I would be doing YouTube. In fact, I was doing YouTube long before I was making a living from it, and nothing was ever going to stop me from continuously making videos. Even if I would have to end up getting like another type of job, a real job, it wouldn't matter. I'd still be doing YouTube because it's what I love, and I'm very happy and very fortunate to be able to have all of you in this journey that we are participating in. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.